Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to VTM Coteries of New York. And in the last episode, we decided it was time for Xavier to step away from his potential coterie members for a little bit and see what the other denizens of New York had to offer. And the results were very mixed, to say the least. We went to Sophie and let her know our concerns about someone stalking us, and we got a first-hand account of how good this stalker is when it comes to obfuscate, because they were actually cloaked inside Sophie's apartment. Once Sophie realized that, the stalker got away, and Sophie was not particularly pleased, but definitely kind of gives us an idea of how powerful that person is. And then we decided to help Sophie with a very meddlesome reporter, and we used Dominate and said, hey, any evidence that you have that Sophie's immortal, burn it, forget about this, it never happened. However, you guys did let me know in the comments that the red lines around the screen showed up after I used Dominate, and I did not notice that, so we definitely need to drink sometime soon, which I'm kind of nervous about, because we also got a visit from the sheriff, who let us know that we have an appointment to talk to our sister, and basically end our living existence as we know it, to commit fully to being a kindred. The fact that I'm hungry, or that Xavier's hungry rather, is probably not a good thing. So let's go ahead and rest. And see where the story goes. You'd ask who's there, but you don't know if the sheriff of New York City would play along. When you open the door, you see him toying with the car keys he's holding in his hand. Ready to go, fledgling? You don't feel you are, but you give him a nod nevertheless. Excellent. Stick close. He leads you down to the vehicle he's parked nearby. Once again, he takes the wheel, literally and figuratively. Yeah, look at the blood right there on the edge. Ooh, this is not good. Everything's inside just the way you remember it, down to the rearview mirror reflecting an intense stare of your guide. However, the trip itself feels notably different. The last time Kadir was driving you around, he was forcibly dragging you away from your old life. This time, he's pulling you back into it. M. Let me tell you how it's going to go. As I said, I've arranged a meeting between you and your kin. It's going to take place somewhere you should know very well. I'll watch over you two from a safe distance to make sure you adhere to the rules. You should know those very well, but I'll reiterate just so you can't ever say I didn't warn you. Don't do anything that would violate the Masquerade. Don't establish some secret routes of contact. I will know. Do treat it as the last time you two meet. Take this chance to wrap everything up. Here's your story. You're fine. Found yourself at a crossroads. Decided to radically change your life and move out of the city. The subway is unbearable. The rent is too high. They've heard it all. However, you wouldn't leave for good without saying farewell to the only person who cared. He gives you a compassionate stare. It's gonna leave a scar, boy. But a true artist knows those are not something to hide, but to display with pride. You're a fresh corpse. People you meet can still leave a mark on you. One night, a long time from now, you'll realize you'll miss collecting new wounds. The car makes a sudden turn. I leave the finer details to you. Just be so kind and don't make me forget it. Or regret it. You can sense he's going out of his way for you, but doesn't try to force you into gratitude by stating it plainly. If you know, you know. He'll see if you were worthy of his aid. We're here. You take a look around to recognize your destination. He was right. It is a familiar place. It's right next to that exhibition place, the one where you met your future sire in. This is where you've seen Emma for the last time. This is where they've last seen poor Xavier. Who knows whatever might have happened to him? That's what your sister is trying to find out. I took the liberty of messaging her in your stead. She's up there, waiting for you to come and explain yourself. He turns off the engine and relaxes comfortably in his seat. You silently leave the car and head straight for the exhibition space. The elevator ride up just doesn't want to end. After what felt like 5 hours, but in reality was closer to 30 seconds, you finally reach your floor. Em is standing there, looking at the paintings. She's trying carefree, but holding to her bag a little too tightly. When she hears your footsteps, she's startled. Then she sees you, and her eyes immediately fill with tears. She runs up to you and gives you a hearty hug. Oh, God damn it, Xavier. God damn it. You stay in her arms, silent, for a little while. The bonds of blood run deep. This feels right. You're so cold. What happened to you? You look into her eyes and start searching your heart for a lie that would satisfy her, if only a little bit. So, you see, I met this man, and he was interested in the art I make, and he was from the other side of the world. You stop mid-sentence. It's perfectly obvious that you're not exactly telling the truth, and her expression makes it obvious she knows. What happened? Xavier, talk to me. All the life-saving work she sent your way. From a job of a concept artist to this very exhibition. I've been losing my mind. Talked to literally everybody I know to ask when was the last time they've seen you. All the time she helped you get your shit together. Look, I've always been honest with you. The least you can do is return the favor. She has, and she absolutely deserves to know. But she can't. Kadir is waiting downstairs. Xavier! Her voice startles you. Your first instinct is to run. And like a beast you've become, you trust it. Xavier! You can't do this. Not now. Not like this. She watches as you, kindred, an undying creature of the night, zoom away from her, run into the elevator, and press the ground floor button. This might be the last time you ever see each other. At least look her in the eyes and force yourself to tell her one last thing. We know for a fact, with all of the supernatural influence in this city, that if Emma gets involved, she's going to be killed, or enthralled, or utilized, and it's not a good thing. So, it sucks that we have to say this, but don't search for me, for your and my own good. She's too stunned to react as the elevator doors close. You slide down the wall, hiding your face in your arms. You find your own priorities disgusting. But what gets you down the most is not the fact you failed to give closure to the only person you care about. Or the most, yeah. It's more that you failed to make this farewell beautiful. It makes you feel like a failure as an artist. Even with all this newfound power, you still can't express yourself through the canvas of your life. You're still stuck in your old ways. But you know Em. She'll take the pain you've caused her and use it to make art that resonates, that sells. What if an authentic trauma is the best gift you could find to repay all of her generosity? Jesus Christ, you're disgusting. If you consider all of those emotions commodities, no wonder you're a failure of an artist. The elevator door is open. Better run while she's still up there. Back to Kadir's car. Once you close the door, he instantly puts his foot on the gas pedal. Walking off the pitch with no regrets. Said everything you had to say. Kadir sighs. Yeah, that's what I gathered from here. I'll keep an eye on the situation. Placate her somehow if she won't stop looking. I've got some well-tested methods. Non-violent, of course. He gives you a good stare through the rearview mirror. You're an artist, aren't you? You nod, half-heartedly. So you of all people should know things never work out the way you planned. There's always could have been more time to plan, tools that could help you execute it better. Perfection is just an accident. The only thing you can do is give it your best shot given the circumstances and immediately move on to the next thing. When all is said and done, regret is nothing but narcissism and a waste of time. Sophie, your coterie. They are the materials you've been given, and they're potent ones. Make the best use of them, so that they might create something more beautiful than your artist tools ever did. And as a side note, I envy you. I wish I still had someone to make my knees feel like jelly. Even when you can't see them anymore, just knowing they're there keeps you in touch with what you once were. The car speeds up to cross an intersection before the light turns red. You give Kadir a good, hard look. Thanks. It doesn't feel like a, how should you call it, very vampire thing to say, but you say it nevertheless. He's visibly taken aback, with his usual furrowed brow smoothing out for a moment. Then he takes on a serious, slightly sorrowful expression. Don't suck up to me, kid. Mr. Bad Guy is still here, and without a doubt, he'll go back to decapitating suckers like you any time now. The car starts slowing down. We're here. You look out the window and see your haven. Take care. I'll see you around. Just pray I don't have to see you too often. You leave the car and start walking to your haven, thinking about Kadir. Can't say you're fond of him, all with the welcome he gave you and all, but after tonight, you can't say you aren't either. You're gonna need some time to understand him, that's for sure. Alright, well, I would like to go ahead and we technically have visited everyone once. Should we go ahead and get the side quests out of the way before we talk to the coterie members? Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go with Benoit. Benoit Segal wants to meet you again at the cathedral. You wonder whether that mysterious priest will be there. Only one way to find out. You started to look at churches differently since your last encounter with Benoit. You're not sure what happened inside, but it was unavoidably real. You felt it. When Benoit mentioned that being in the presence of Father Anthony's faith would eventually kill someone like you, an undead being, you believed him. It doesn't seem to be very common, though. In New York, you pass thousands of people every night, and none of them have made you feel so afraid and insignificant. If you were to encounter someone like Father Anthony in the subway or a nightclub, you would know. There are many churches in the 5 boroughs, and you're pretty sure most of them don't contain someone whose faith can touch you in this way. Yet you've become wary. They just might. Still, tonight the cathedral looks as before. a striking landmark acting as a symbol of faith for people who have no idea that vampires exist in their midst. For them, questions of faith and myth are theoretical or philosophical. For you, those same questions suddenly define the meaning of your new existence. You sneak into the cathedral like an old hand, as if going to church had been a regular part of your life. Inside, the cathedral is almost deserted. You're not sure if you'll be meeting Benoit alone. The idea of feeling Father Anthony's faith on your undead flesh, freezes you with terror. Benoit is waiting for you in the front pews of the cathedral in the exact same spot where you saw Father Anthony. Worried, you approach, but you don't feel the touch of faith that shook you before. Benoit nods as you sit next to him in the pew. Aren't you worried about meeting here? What if your friend the priest returns? Don't worry. He's not here tonight. You've had some time to think. I'm guessing you found the touch of Father Anthony's faith hard to ignore. For most people, God's presence is a question of faith. When I talk with Father Anthony, it feels like proof. Benoit is fervent, intense as he speaks. It's clear these questions have consumed his existence. Perhaps they'll consume yours too. I just can't get the idea of a divine purpose out of my mind. I know how that feels. It's clear we're here for a reason. But why? Benoit looks around reflexively to make sure nobody is listening. There are only a few people in the enormous cathedral, and they don't seem to be interested in two loners murmuring to each other in the front pew. It might seem like ancient history, things that happened thousands of years ago, but time works differently for our kind. If the stories are true, there are Methuselah still in existence who have walked the earth when Jesus was alive. The only problem is that old vampires lie. They adjust history to suit their egos. Perhaps if you talk to a few different elders? They're not very forthcoming, unfortunately. We're left to piece these stories together on our own. This is how the story goes. God cursed Cain as punishment for the murder of Abel. Cain walked the night shunned by humanity and drank blood to sustain himself. Even from the point of our origin, we are damned. However, the story becomes really interesting when we move forward. Cain creates more of our kind, often referred to as the second generation. They lived in the first city, later called Enoch, ruling openly over the city's human inhabitants. I see the first city as Cain's redemption. Cursed by God to wander, he remade himself as a ruler and lawgiver, acting as an immortal shepherd to humanity. It only started to go wrong when the second generation begat the third, and vampires started to run amok. What happened to the first city? It was lost in the deluge. Noah had his ark to save him, but our kind had to rely on our gifts of blood. If you're skeptical about this piece of history, remember that even a local flood can bring massive destruction. After the first city, Cain largely departs the story. Perhaps he was disheartened by the depredations of his descendants. The antediluvians went on to build a second city in imitation of the first, but it's doubtful their rule was just. There are people moving in the cathedral, and both you and Benoit have made sure none get close enough to hear you talk. As Benoit goes on, your undead senses detect something that deviates from the normal hubbub of devout mortals, cathedral workers, and tourists. You hear the squeaking wheels of an old wheelchair that hasn't been taken out too often. We've been doing this for 20 years, and still you'll pull stuff like this, Michael. Why did you bring your sister? We're on the field. This is no place for the disabled. The voice of that is an older man, Midwestern. Oops. He sounds exasperated, as if he was rehashing an argument for the 100th time. She wanted to come. She doesn't get out of the house very often. Besides, you should be grateful, Bobby. You have never found our new partners without her. The second voice belongs to an old man, too. It's more intense and still holds echoes of a Russian accent. Whoops. Yes, because she talked about vampires online. You got your door busted in by the FBI, as I remember. We did, sure. But we cleared the misunderstanding and now we're consultants. So quit your griping. Bobby, Michael, play nice. You sound like an old couple. The third voice has a heavier Russian accent. Well, 3 for 3. And belongs to an older woman. All three have clearly known each other for a long time. Let's find Father Anthony and see if he can help us. From what I've heard, he is an exceptional man. Yeah, exceptional. But he doesn't like moles. You nudge Benoit and discreetly point out the 3 people approaching you along the cathedral's central aisle. He nods in understanding. This is bad news, whoever these 3 are. We need to get out. Let's meet outside. We don't need to be using any blood right now. Let's move discreetly to the side. Better not to call attention to yourself. You decide to move to the side of the cathedral and pretend to pray at an altar. You walk casually toward the side, away from the 3 approaching mortals. You feel their eyes boring into your back, but you force yourself to be cool. Benoit is nowhere to be seen. You blinked and he disappeared in a burst of speed. He worried it was too conspicuous, but maybe the mortals missed it. You pretend to admire the architecture for a while before glancing back to the trio. They've settled at the exact spot you just occupied, apparently waiting for something and conversing in hushed tones. Once you're sure their attention is elsewhere, you start walking briskly down the side aisle toward the exit. That was a close call. Who were those 3? Did you recognize them? I might have. I'm not sure. There's talk of a few tenacious vampire hunters living in the city. One of them is supposed to be a woman in a wheelchair. For a second, Benoit looks at you as if he was wondering whether he should say something. There's one thing I've always wondered about the story of Cain. The traditions of the Camarilla put a lot of faith in the relationship between sire and child. You're supposed to follow the example of your maker, yet Cain didn't really seem to care for the vampires he embraced. Did he think it was a mistake to create our kind? Do the kindred of the Camarilla really care what Cain thinks? Most don't. Still, he was the progenitor. You know, I'm Sophie's child and you're her protege. It's amazing that we share an appreciation for the mythologies of our kind, considering Sophie has little interest in questions of the spirit. You stare at Benoit. You knew there was something he wasn't telling you, but in all the talk about Cain in the first city, you forgot about it. Now the only question is, what does this mean? Does Sophie know her child is talking to you? Probably not. Don't hold it against me, but I admit finding some pleasure in seeing you suffer the effects of Father Anthony's faith. I suppose that's the demon in me. Oh, we have potence now, too. I understand that you're bitter, Benoit. I'm not your enemy. I'm sorry. I know that. It's just, sometimes I, too, get tempted by sin. You know, we should meet again. We've talked so much about myth, but maybe that's cowardly when the reality of faith is right in front of us. I'll introduce you to Father Anthony. You nod, unsure whether that's a good idea. Benoit walks away and you follow his example, not wanting to hang around the cathedral any longer. Oh yeah, nothing bad could possibly happen there. Good lord. We do need to go feed, though, for sure. Let's go ahead and rest. See if anything new pops up, storyline-wise. Hey! Okay. So no, well, he's back. I figured the Dominate would be enough to, clear out the rubble. I'm not sure what we should do. Last time you failed to resolve the situation with your stalker. You have to get a handle on that one way or another. You've taken care of Frank Dotery, but apparently there's someone still stalking out Sophie's apartment. He's not that stupid, is he? I would assume so. Let's do this. Walking down the night street near your haven, you suddenly spot a young, disheveled woman leaning against a wall. She looks you straight in the eyes and disappears into an alley. She is your stalker. You're certain of it. You take a few running steps to catch up with her, determined to find out what this is all about. Ducking into the alley, you come upon a grisly scene. An old man, a pensioner really, lies broken on the ground, telltale puncture marks on his neck. 3 vampires stand above the corpse, licking their lips. All were embraced young. 2 men and a woman. Black hoodies, bicycle chain, facial tattoo. You've never seen them before, and you assume you know why. They're anarchs. Hey, it's the Camarilla fucker. Just as promised. I like beating up these privileged little shits. You walked into the simplest ambush in the world. The woman you saw briefly at the mouth of the alley is nowhere in sight. Perhaps that shouldn't be surprising given her obvious powers of invisibility. Ooh. I don't know which way we should go with this. My only problem is the fact that we are hungry for blood right now, and I'm not exactly sure what that's going to do. Should we go for the stupid approach? Actually, both of these are pretty stupid. That's the smartest one, but I don't think we have enough fuel in the tank, really, to get that done. Sure, let's try the stupid approach. Whoa, let's calm down. There's no need for violence. The anarchs come closer, crowding you menacingly. Oh yeah? What if I'd like a bit of violence? This is Camarilla territory. No matter how tough you are, you don't want to cause trouble here. The anarchs look at each other uncertainly. They're clearly mindful of Camarilla power. One of them whispers to the others. Maybe this is a bad idea. Callahan said we've got to be careful around the Ivories. The other anarchs glance at you nervously. You try to look authoritative, unconcerned, as if you knew the Camarilla had your back. Maybe it does. It's hard to figure out what the different shadow organizations really mean, but the Camarilla has power. That much is clear. Next time we see you, you're fucked. The anarchs walk past you to the street, shoving you around a little. Once they're gone, you take stock of the situation. There's a corpse on the ground. Your mystery stalker doesn't seem to mind if you get hurt. You're about to leave, but your conscience doesn't let you. Better preserve the masquerade. You kneel to lick the dead man's wounds closed before you leave the alley. Oh, that could have gone all kinds of wrong. Alright guys, well, our goodbye to Emma did not go well. Hopefully Kadir will be able to shy her away without any kind of violence. Our stalker seems to be playing a game with us, and speaking of games, Benoit seems to be playing games with us as well. Except that usually ends with True Faith and Vampire Hunters, which is definitely escalation as far as what Xavier has witnessed thus far. But we will go ahead and end it here, and we will pick it up next time. Hope you all have enjoyed it. If you liked the episode, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. And we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.